Hey there, I'm Melisa Camp in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'm here to tell you about things that you need to look for if you're going to be doing new construction. You should have a pre-drywall inspection. So I'm under contract for a new home right now. The insulation is actually being put in today. So very soon in the future, I'm going to be going over to the property in my hard hat, and I'm going to check out things that I can't see once the drywall's up. So I'm just going to go over my list of things that I'm going to be looking for. So if you're building a new home and you need to do a pre-drywall inspection yourself, you have an idea of things that you should be considering. So I'm going to start by going room by room throughout the house. I'm going to be looking at the mechanical work and the duct work up in the ceiling. I want to make sure that all of the ducts are actually taped and masticed. I don't want to see any sort of zip ties or anything like that. The ducts all need to be hand taped and hard taped and mastic. I want to make sure all of my jump ducts have mastic and the metal clamps on them are folded down. I'm going to be checking some of the insulation with a nail. I'm planning to bring about a 6-inch nail with tape just to measure. I want to see if I have at least 5 inches of insulation. If you don't have a nail, you can use a pin or something very small. You don't want to put a large damage in the spray foam insulation, but I want to stick it in to measure it to make sure that it's consistent throughout the property. So that's on insulation. We want to make sure all of the stud bases are actually filled and they are not averaged. We need them to be all full and completely trimmed out. I want to see ceiling to floor insulation. I want to see plumbing that is coated with foam. And we want the foam between the wall to make sure that it's set away. It should not be touching. I'm going to go and look at the top plate and the bottom plate, and I'm going to make sure that it's totally filled in. There are no gaps. We should not see any sort of plywood sheathing. I'm also going to check on the air sealing to make sure that all penetrations, both inside and outside, are going to be sealed. Now I'm really going to look carefully at my doors and my windows. I'm really going to check on that flashing. We really want to make sure that the flashing was done correctly with no gaps. It should be completely filled with low expansive foam. And I'm probably even going to bring a ladder and I'm going to go up to the top of the door and make sure that they filled in that flashing, because once they put up the drywall, you're never going to see that unless you have an infrared camera, and it's always going to be leaking, making your house less energy efficient. And I should have started with this. I'm planning to get solar. So I actually have a goal to make this home as energy efficient as possible before I buy solar, because then I don't need such a big solar system. So back to my list, I'm going to be looking in the bathrooms, at the tubs, under the exterior walls. I want to make sure, again, that it's foamed, okay? I'm going to bring a flashlight and I'm going to check under those bathtubs just to make sure that it's all foamed. And if it's not foamed, I'm going to ask the construction crew to make sure that it is foamed. Low expansive foam should not have any kind of bubbles or gaps anywhere around any of the windows or the doors. I'm going to make sure that the flashing is all stapled, or if it's peel and stick, that it was completely stuck on. I'm going to check the window drainage plane to make sure that's working properly. And then I'm going to go to the slider door for the back patio, and I'm going to make sure that it's completely filled underneath. I'm going to close it and see if I can feel any heat on or under that door. And if I do, then it hasn't been properly sealed. So these are just some of the things that I'm going to go and look at. I'm also going to make sure there's insulation around the outlets, because that's a big source of leakage. And I'm just going to make sure that everything looks good. So if you're buying a new home, I highly suggest doing a pre-drywall walkthrough and take lots of pictures. I'm going to take a crazy amount of pictures. I'm going to document everything, and I'm going to make sure that this home envelope is as efficient as it can possibly be. So if you have any questions or you need some help, feel free to give me a call. I'm at greenhomesphoenix.com. I'm Melisa Camp in Scottsdale, Arizona. Thanks for tuning in.